The way a brand looks and feels is not a design decision. It is a business decision. It shapes who you attract, how you stand out in an industry where everyone looks the same, and how much trust you build, even when your business runs on referrals and personal relationship and recommendations. This is visible in every expert-driven field, but nowhere more clearly than in private banking. Most firms look very interchangeable with the same navy or neutral palette, with the same corporate headshots, the same neutral language about tailored solutions, and a lot of very abstract generic images. So in this episode of this Season 2 of the Brand Distinction podcast, I'm going to be breaking down and sharing how two institutions with remarkably similar credentials made completely different decisions about how to present themselves to the world. So I found those two examples very fascinating because they couldn't be more different, even though the profile of those two institutions, two private banks, are very, very similar. And if you're listening to this and you're thinking, well, I have nothing to do with private banks, I work in another industry, or like my caliber is completely different, don't worry. This is going to be very relevant and valuable to you because we are going to be looking at the examples of the incredible institutions where they have everything. They have the credentials, the history, everything, but they made very specific decisions about the strategy, about how do they position themselves in the world. And it 100% applies to you regardless of which field you operate in. So, welcome to the podcast. I'm excited for this new season, for this new episode. In this particular one, I am going to be sharing a few visuals as well because, yes, we are talking about the visual strategy as well from the institution. So, if you're listening to that, I am going to be breaking down the images, but if you can check it out on YouTube where you can actually see the images, that will be even more valuable to you. So let's get started. In this episode, we're going to look at two banks, Coutts and Pictet. So both were founded centuries ago, literally centuries ago. Coutts, established in London in 1692, has served the British royal family for generations, and Pictet Group was founded in Geneva in 1805, and it remains one of Switzerland's most prestigious independent investment partnerships. Both manage wealth for some of the most accomplished families in the world. Both have centuries of trust and track record embedded in their name. Both have extensive networks and both play in the same area, where very often digital presence and brand is very neutral and very, very conservative. And yet, when you look at the digital presence of these two firms, you would never confuse one for the other. Not for a second. And that's not an accident, that's brand codes at work. So we're going to look at a couple of different elements, and we're going to start with the first visual impression, the 3-second test. This is literally what happens when somebody gets a referral. So let's say you got recommended by someone and they would say, she's excellent, she's amazing, you have to check her out, you have to schedule a call with her. So what people do in the modern world, yes, referral is great. That's a foundation. People want these personal recommendations, but what they do next is they go and they check you out online. They're going to check your website, they're going to check your LinkedIn, wherever you're present. People are going to scan for signals. They're going to do this 3-second test. And what they are seeing is either going to amplify the recommendation or it's going to diminish it. That's why this 3-second test, the first impression, is powerful. So when you land on the Coutts website, something unexpected happens. You feel warmth, you feel it's personal, it's very human. The dominant color is not the navy blue, not the gray, not the cream you would expect naturally from 330-year-old bank. but their signature color is deep, rich burgundy, closer to aged wine than to finance. So let's actually have a look at that. I am very excited to share with you. So this is what we are seeing when we are landing on Coutts' website. What? This is so unexpected. So apart from the color, this rich burgundy that we see on the website, we see warmth, we see human. This is so personal. You can imagine that this is not stage photography with random models. You would feel like, oh, this is a client in their estate. We are so much we are literally being transferred to this situation where you're almost like a part of this conversation. You see two people walking, you hear a dog maybe barking, you hear the leaves moving, and if you're really feeling the place, you feel the conversation. It feels so real. It feels very personal, very human. It looks like family moments were captured. And there is a richness of color, richness of detail. It's not like neutral corporate office that we often see that could be mistaken with any other bank or institution. It is intentionally curated. We see families, we see women, we see generations. People are front and center here. So a lot of institutions and a lot of banks, they're saying that people are their biggest asset. But a lot of times you don't see this human touch and this people actually that represent either the bank or the clientele of the bank. But here at Coutts, right away, we see this richness of detail. We see people and they look like real people. It doesn't look like these were their models hired. It looks like, oh, and these are the clients with their advisors. They are in the conversation and we see in a very private setting. So it feels so personal. Oh, like this is so personal. It couldn't be more personal than that. And you see that the color is so intentional as well. There is so much detail here and nothing feels corporate, formal, cold, or anything like this here. Everything on the contrary. And I found this example really fascinating because it is so different from 99% of any other private bank or wealth firm that you will see online. And this strategy is very intentional. Then there is another picture. So here we are seeing, for example, also another very personal type of imagery, which also transports us in this moment and makes it so real and so human. So here is a woman working on her laptop by the pool, and it signals the images. It signals right away that, oh, we care about our people. We care about women. This is about you. And this is sharing how we work with clients who want both, who don't want to choose, who want both success in their professional life and they also want fulfillment in their personal life, who don't want to choose between work and family. And we care for you. We can care for both of your dreams. So this image with those signals, with what we are seeing there, instantly creates creates all those messages in our head. Isn't it incredible how images are powerful? So whenever you're thinking that, oh, the brand and the visuals is just like very simple design decision. It is not. And how much you can communicate through what people are seeing. And then it goes back to this 3-second test when a lot of times, especially at the first glance, people aren't going to read everything that you have, all the copy. Before they read anything, before they get hooked by what you are, they are going to just get those signals from what they are seeing visually. And then if they like what they see and it speaks to them, it connects to their desires, then they're going to go into the copy and exploring what you are doing, how you're doing, all of that. So that's why this first visual impression, the first 3 seconds, is so important. So in Coutts, you could see from all the photography that it is for people who value rich beyond money. And those subtle messages, they are embedded in that brand photography. It has specific message, it instantly shows who it serves, and it feels very personal and very distinct from any other bank. Your brain registers this in under 3 seconds. This is not your typical bank. You are going to remember it. It is very distinct and different. And now let's look at Pictet. And here the feeling is entirely different. It is clean, it is restrained, it is spacious, it is a very muted color palette, grays and whites. You don't have this warmth forward photography. Here you have on the main page, you have black and white reel, like the video reel that goes on the background with just some words what they stand for, but it feels a little bit more formal, a little bit on the colder side. So here you get a completely different feeling. Who is it for and what people value, what the clients of this company, of this organization, what do they value? It is a very different feel. Your brain literally registers this is serious, this is considered, this is very deliberately understated. And investment here feels more, it is based on hard facts, on data, not emotionals and feelings. So I love actually seeing the difference of the two, and I'm going to share with you. So especially when we compare side by side, you instantly see the difference. So here we can see, oh, this is the firm that doesn't have to, this is the firm that doesn't go into this emotional feeling type of communication. It is based on hard facts, data, and nothing competes for attention here. And here the feeling just of the snapshot of these two pictures out of everything we see on the websites of those companies, completely different feel. Like here we have warmth, personality. It just feels so human. The feeling is completely different. And this brings me to help you see how you communicate what you're bringing to the world. And this is where you want to be very intentional about being unique and standing out with what is unique and special with your experiences, with your positioning, because this is what is going to help you differentiate and be memorable and stand out from a sea of so-called beige online, of the sea of sameness online, and attract the client that you want to attract. Because we just looked at these snapshots of those two pictures, and you can imagine very different types of clients are going to be attracted to those two different institutions. And this is how distinct and intentional you want to be about how your brand is positioned visually. So why this matters beyond banking? Every brand, including yours, passes the same 3-second test, whether you've designed for it or not. And when someone lands on your website or LinkedIn profile, they are not reading your about section or seeing your credentials first. First of all, they're scanning for signals. They are absorbing color, typography, imagery, spatial composition, all of that. And from that, they form a perception of your level before they read a single word. So a lot of times, excellent professionals and firms, they assume that our credentials are going to do the job. Who we are is going to just signal immediately. But you have to be very intentional about designing this very first perception. So the question remains whether the perception is intentional or accidental. Now we're going to talk about color as brand code, as part of the brand design decision and part of the business strategy. So in private banking, which is very conservative industry, the unwritten rule is blue, navy blue to be exact. It signals trust, stability, conservatism, and most private practices, they follow the same instinct: dark blue, gray, charcoal, perhaps a touch of gold, because it is safe, but it is also expected. And when we look at Coutts, it broke the convention entirely. The primary brand color is burgundy. It's a color that is associated with fine wine, with warmth, with so-called lived-in luxury rather than corporate formality. Paired with cream, with soft neutrals, it creates a palette that feels like a members club than a bank. That's kind of literally the perception it creates. And Pictet, another firm, took the opposite approach, and it's equally strategic. Their palette is restrained to the point of near absence. Soft grays, white space, there is no color signature demanding for attention. The restraint is the signature. It says we don't need to stand out. We don't need to compete for your attention. We are Pictet. So here are the two heritage banks and two completely different color strategies. And when I look at the online presence of most independent consultants, advisors, and experts, I see a lot of the same muted tones or neutral tones repeated endlessly. And a lot of times they were chosen by default, whatever felt professional at the time, but a lot of times professional is the baseline. So you want to be very intentional. Is it really going to stand for who you are? And is it intentional? Or it's by default and then it's not going to be a differentiator. And what makes both brand codes particularly effective is that these codes don't stop at the website. They carry the same visual brand message across different touch points. There is a consistency across social media, across content, across client communication. And this is how you create this consistent perception of the brand. This is how you become memorable. This is how you become distinct. The consistency reinforces the perception. You want to create that type of impression. So whenever somebody goes to your website and they check you out and they feel like, oh, this is interesting, it feels relevant, it feels like it's speaking to me, what they usually do next, they would go to your LinkedIn or maybe even Instagram. And you want to create this, you want to bring that same image to other presence that you have on social media, because then people are going to connect the dots. They're going to create this more distinct and memorable impression of you. That is very important. So in the conclusion, I want to say that if two of Europe's most established private banks with centuries of heritage, reputation that speaks for themselves, still invest in defining and refining their brand codes, it says something about how powerful those signals are and how much they matter for any expert building a brand that reflects the quality of their work. So I would love to hear from you. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn to discuss this. And if you have any specific questions about that, I have actually opened a few slots for a brand audit. So if you would like me to look at your brand online, what it communicates currently, how it is aligned with who you want to attract, how you want to be positioned, how all of that fits into the ecosystem of your overall brand and business. I offer a few complimentary spots right now. You can book this brand audit. So you can just go to the description of this episode, wherever you are listening or watching it, and you will have a link to book this brand audit. It's complimentary. It's 20-minute session. So there is just one question I would want you to answer in advance. I want to have a link to your website or to your LinkedIn presence, and you can book it. And I'm going to meet you for this session. I've done a few of those this past month, and it's been very powerful. So you're invited to book your session. And if you want to go deeper and to learn more about how brand codes actually play out on a bigger scale, I covered in my recent masterclass brand codes. We looked at the diamond principle and what it means when you have a brand versus when you don't have a distinct, powerful brand. For example, a diamond without a brand has one price, but the diamond with a Tiffany brand on it has a completely different perception and a price tag, and it attracts a very different type of client, and it creates a very different type of loyalty. We looked at that. We looked at the packaging, at the positioning, at the intentional color strategy, at how to create premium and distinct brand equity. So if you would like to dive deeper, it's a 1-hour masterclass, and then it is followed by the live audit that I did for some people in the audience. You can go to ninawalder.com/brand codes, and you can sign up for instant access. The link is going to be down below in the episode as well. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.